Good evening and welcome to Explain 11. And tonight we're on the ground at Edinburgh Airport, and I can hear you say, "What is this airplane before us?" Doesn't it look very sleek and fancy with its reflections and its livery and its winglets? Well, it is in fact the default C90 that comes with X-Plane, only with this mod. Now I'll leave a link in the description. This is a free mod that you can get on the xplane.org website, and it improves the plane both visually and in the systems and flight modelling. I won't go through everything. There's lots of stuff on here that's changed from the default plane. There are systems, annunciators, electrical systems that work apparently more close to the real plane. Engines mods, autopilot mods, weight and balance fixes, gear flap operation corrections. I think a lot of the aim of a lot of these changes is to try and make it behave more like the real airplane. There's here engine performance fixes, interior design, material reflectiveness added to things, and also on the exterior. So yeah, lots of things. It's quite easy to install. You basically make a copy. If you go into your X-Plane aircraft Laminar research, you copy the C90 to underneath X-Plane aircraft, but call it C90 winglets. Then you essentially download the zip file from the forum and overwrite the files in there, and that's it. And then you have it. So this is the exterior view, and it looks very nice. And we have the rear door open at the moment for people to get on board. I should say tonight the plan is to go from Edinburgh to Inverness over the Highlands, and SimBriefs told us that we are going to be at 14,000 feet for this. Quite a good flight to do on VATSIM, I think, but as I've not flown the King Air with the FMS for a while, and as this is this new variant of it, I thought I'll give it a practice first without any ATC and just see how we get on. You see in the cockpit that the interior is all sort of darkened, like if the C90 GTX with the glass panel one you can get from Coronado. Looks very nice. It's got new carpeting, new seats. In the back, I've got this kind of view at the back here, just so that it's easier to shut this door. But yeah, you've got the kind of seating in here and the tables and everything, and it looks very, very smart. Now then, we've got lots to do. It's a question of what order to do it in. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. If I look at the let's have a quick look at the SimBriefs output for the flight plan. And you can see it's one of the standard SIDs from Edinburgh, and then essentially I think the SID ends about here, and then instead of following this airway to Aberdeen, we cut over to the N560 to Inverness. We'll have a look at the arrival in Inverness, what we're going to do there once we get airborne. Assuming we've got time. I mean, it is quite a short flight. One of the first things to do is check the fuel. So SimBrief has said that the block fuel in Edinburgh is 578. So let's go and sort that out. 578 kilograms. There's a metric switch. Thank you very much. Okay. Excellent. So let's go for, there we go, 579. That looks fine. We have Avitab integration, which is quite nice. Let's have a quick look at Edinburgh, which is EGPH. So SimBrief has told us that we're departing. Let's have a look. I can never find the here we go, EGPH 24. So what's the wind? Yeah, 240. That sounds very reasonable. QNH 1017. Let's get that dialed in. Let's just get the airport diagram up here. Let's also set the other altimeter to match. That's roughly right. It's got the runways on it, yeah. So in fact in Edinburgh it's just the one runway, isn't it? So runway 24. So yeah, should be a simple taxi out of here, turn right along Alpha to D3 or D1. Cool. Okay, that looks fairly straightforward. Let's get started up and get the flight plan loaded. So we'll turn on the beacon and we'll turn on the battery. The parking brake is on. Let's just get the transfer pumps and the fuel pumps on. Now let's check our levers. So props we want full forward, throttle we want at idle, and these we want at fuel cut off. We'll start with let's do the right engine, shall we? We're ready to start, I think. So right engine ignition. Spools up quicker in this version, apparently that's more correct. Low idle, and if you watch, the ITT doesn't go quite as high as it does on the default Laminar implementation. I don't know whether that's more correct or not, but now that that's spooling up, we can turn off the starter and ignition, turn on the generator, and we'll turn on an inverter while we're here. Go fast, high idle on the engine with the generator running. I think this is voltage of something. I don't know if it's a battery or the bus. Yeah, the bus thing is interesting. You got this manual ties closed. So you can either have open or closed. There's no normal on here apparently. This effectively means that all the buses are tied together, which you wouldn't really want, because then they're not isolated if one generator or one bus fails. But it's because there's no normal position in the default Laminar implementation, that can't be implemented. So the recommendation is just to leave the ties closed and you just have this green annunciator on all the time. Okay, let's get the left engine going. It's in fuel cut off at the moment. Just gotta be careful here because I've got my. I said, do not want to lose the right engine. Can we get the starter going again? Sorry, that's my joystick there. Was sorry, my throttle binding. If I forget to move the lever, then when I move it, it's in the closed position. Everything shuts off again. So pretend that didn't happen. Okay, right engine is going again. Left can go back to fuel cut off. Now we can start the left. So we'll watch it spool up once we get about 13, which comes pretty quickly. You can introduce fuel. I didn't turn the generator off there, but I'm not sure if it really matters on this model of King Air. Okay. Left is started, left generator is on. So yeah, this is the one I always forget. So the cabin door, obviously, it should have been shut before we started the engines. So let's just sort that out. There's a quick spot here, or you can do it from the outside view. Okay, let's get some no, we can get the engines back to low idle. That's better. While I remember here, let's turn auto feather on, and we may as well put a nav light on, a reco light on. Turn the pitos on when we get to the runway, near the runway. Let's get some avionics on. Avionics master pan. Then down here we have various switches we need to turn on. So we'll turn on the flight director, turn on EFIS power, turn on rudder boost and elevator trim. Elevator trim means that you then can use the electronic trim control, and the autopilot works, which is quite handy. For the EHSI display, I like the wind rather than the ground speed, because you get the ground speed on the GPS anyway. And on the actual display, I like it in HSI mode. There we go. Okay. Cool. Flight plan, I guess, would do that. Another thing with this version, this mod, is that it very much starts cold and dark. It's to the point that even the radios are turned off, and you have to turn them on individually. So yeah, it's very cold and dark, which I quite like, actually. I mean, I remember some of my earlier videos, flight sim videos. I look back at them in horror now. When I used to pick the plane with the option, you know, the tick box, start with engines running, and I can't believe I used to do that. Now it just seems wrong, but anyway, just goes to show how your interest changes as you get more into something. I just turn that on while I remember. So we've got one comm radio, not that we'll be really using them. We turn on this for DME distance. Again, we may not be using that. Let's put bleed air on for now. Actually, we'll probably just leave it on, get the cabin sorted out. Oh yeah, flight plan. Okay, I'm hoping I've saved the output from SimBrief, so I'm hoping we can just load it. Let's clear this existing flight plan. Now, can I remember how you load a flight plan in this thing? Flight plan, menu. There is a way to do this. I think it's the second thing, isn't it? If we go back to flight plan, get back out of that menu. Click in here. Yeah, this is it. I don't know how I remembered that. EGPH to EGPE. Here we go. Let's have a look at it. So, SimBrief told us that we were taking the... Which departure are we taking? Again, I've lost the... Yeah, Grice 3 Charlie. Let's just have a look on Avitab and make sure that looks sensible. So, departures, Grice 3 Charlie departure. Max 250 up flight over 100. Leaving controlled airspace north of Grice. Okay, I guess that's us because we leave controlled airspace to move over to the other airway. Don't climb over 6,000 by ATC, so we'll set 6,000 as our initial cleared altitude. Oh no. Yep. Okay, we've set QNH already. And the initial heading is direct to Edinburgh NDB on 368. So let's tune that in as well with the ADF receiver, which we will turn on, and we will tune in 368. And that should appear here if we go ADF. Okay, so we're basically flying runway heading direct to that. I'm not sure how many miles it is, but hopefully the nav will work. So I'll tell you what we might do this time. I'm wondering whether to just leave the autopilot in nav mode to start with as an experiment. Yes, I'll do that. So what I'm hoping is then that, so once we've taken off, I'll arm the autopilot using the keyboard keys, and it will default to pitch hold mode and hopefully nav mode. So that'll kind of give us a chance then to sort out our VSpeed, VS or whatever we want to use. But initially it'll pitch hold whatever we've got it at, if we've got it trimmed sensibly. Okay, is that us? Good to think about taxiing. What else do we need to do? I suppose we should turn on... Oh, we should turn on the transponder. As we're probably going to be an IFR flight, we should go for 2,000. Oh, really? Okay, I'm going to use XPilot and say .x 2,000. Life's just too short to try and get these things to twiddle in the right direction. Okay, 2,000 ready to squawk. Yeah, bleeds are on. We haven't put the pitot and whatever heats on yet, but we will do. Okay, now we've got to get out of here. So it's time to have, let's just put head tracking on for a second. Yeah. it would help if I started open track, just so I can see the tablet. The reason I want to do that is I want to know, yeah, okay, so essentially we want to turn left and go out that way, and then follow Alpha 1819, yep, okay, turn left and then go out that way. Actually, because there's a stairs there, I'll probably just turn right instead. I'm going to release the brake, I'm going to turn on taxi light. Now you might find that even at low idle, this mod taxis a bit faster than you used to, so you may need to bring the prop back into beta, which is what it actually it says is something they've done to make it more realistic to the real aircraft. The only thing I think is I think my prop lever thing is set to go max reverse if I move it back past the stop, so it may be a bit unrealistic here on mine. While we're taxiing, I'm just going to cycle the props back to feathered, and you'll notice they go to the sort of feather position pretty quickly, but they take a while to come back. So you need to do that not at a critical phase of your taxi, for example. And do that, and then I'll bring them back one more time. There we go. Okay, that's just to make sure that the feathering mechanism's working and to get the oil circulating through it. Now, where are we here? A20, is this correct? I'll tell you what we'll do here. Rather than go the wrong way, let's just have a quick look and see where we are. Yeah, that's fine. We don't need to use that little loop. We'll just go straight. Something else we should do is cross-fill the flight plan. Let me just go flight plan, menu, cross-fill, and we'll leave this one on the default screen, and this one can show us the graphical stuff. Okay, I think there's one more hold line around here where we can do our final setup. Yep, we'll just stop here and make sure we're ready to go onto the runway. Okay, so we want pitot install on. We want strobes on. Landing lights on. Taxi light can come off, and transponder can go on alt, and that's us good to go, I think. Oh, we haven't lined up the heading bug. Runway 24. And we're following the ADF, which at the moment doesn't look like it's going in the right direction. Interesting. Could be kind of useful if it did go in the right direction. Hang on a minute. So makes no difference. Are we not, for some reason, not picking up? It was 368 was Edinburgh, wasn't it? 368, yeah. Not entirely sure. Unless we don't pick it up until we take off, we'll leave it on ADF anyway. If not, it's basically runway heading. We need to set that to GPS. There's something funny going on here because Grice 3C is 240 degrees, and yet this, hang on a minute. If we go flight plan, EGPH has got us direct to Grice. Ah, it hasn't. Okay. When you export the flight plan, it doesn't include the arrivals and departures. So we should have done this. Should have checked this when we were on the ramp. Right, that's better. At least it now looks like we're going roughly the right direction. Not entirely sure why we have no ADF. Does that maybe need to be turned round? Yes. Brilliant. Okay. It was on antenna. I don't know what that is, but it's now on ADF and it's now pointing straight ahead. Right. We're good to go. We're going to go to 6,000 feet. What's the transition altitude? 6,000. Okay, we'll stay where we are on QNH for 6,000. Now, I'm glad I'm not on VATSIM now because we sat in the runway for like 10 minutes. You'll notice as well with this engine, with the engine mods that they've made in this model, it's easy to go over torque or over ITT, well certainly over torque. So you got to watch as you spool up here on the runway. Just watch you stay below the red line on the torque limit. So there we go. I'm going to release the brakes. And keep going. There we go. Nearly at the red limit. That'll do. Airspeed's coming alive. We're going to rotate about 100. There we go. I'm going to bring the gear up. I haven't got any flaps. At least I don't think I've got any flaps. I didn't check. Nope, no flaps. That's good. Just going to bring the props back to 21. Cut down on noise. Now we should be on course here, so I'm just gonna pull the power back slightly here. We are no, we're okay. I'm going to engage the autopilot now. I'm hoping we're in nav mode and we're going to hold our current pitch. While we're doing that, I am going to turn off auto feather, turn on prop sync, just make sure it's gone off. Auto feathers off, yep. Okay, we probably want to reduce our climb rate now, so I think I'm going to go to VS mode on the autopilot. Let's do that now. I think it defaults to the current it has, 2200. Let's just take that down a bit. Let's go for about... just so we keep our speed up above 140 basically. Now how are we doing here? Okay, so when we reach the... oops. When we reach the NDB, which we'll be able to see this needle start to swing, we should then be making a right turn to the next waypoint. And of course our cross-fill's wrong now, so let's quickly sort that out. Because we cross-filled before we put in the... yeah, here we go, right turn. So at the moment we're going from the runway to UW, then we're going to make a right turn. Landing lights can come off now. Got to be careful that we have Alt Cell on here, or we're going to burst our past 6,000. Landing lights can come off. Climbing very strongly here, this is quite impressive. And we're above the clouds. So you'll notice here that the GPS doesn't really follow the course as kind of described on the chart. Kind of takes a shortcut. I think it's intercepting this waypoint next. This is what always worries me when you're on VATSIM or something. At least with this tablet here, you can kind of see. You could always put it back in. Put it back in heading mode. Let's try and keep the heading synced up in case we do need to take over. Yeah, it's essentially because the next waypoint is kind of defined by this radial from some VOR somewhere. It's essentially just getting itself onto that without following the full wiggly path. Okay, we're at 6,000 feet. I'm going to assume now that we've been cleared to our cruising altitude, which is, according to Simbury, flight level 140. So let's try and put that in over here. And I'm going to go for alt cell and V speed, and then we'll bring our V speed up gradually. I might switch to indicated airspeed once we get to an airspeed that I'm happy with. Now V speed should start the 0, and actually something else they've done in this mod is, I previously said you can get autopilot output and put it on screen. I've got it up here under the frame rate. If you look at my kind of tutorial autopilot video, you should see how to do that. V speed here is 0. It's also shown here on the whatever that thing is, artificial horizon display thing. Bottom left, this number 0. So if I press plus, I've got plus minus keys bound to V speed. You'll notice it'll go up in 200 foot increments, and apparently 200 foot is correct for the plane, whereas the defaults is 100, so we'll see. So let's give ourselves 1,000 foot per minute. Let's just see where we are on the and we're nicely following the now I'm not quite sure what it's going to do here. I guess it's going to make another intercept course to intercept this radial. I think these are bearings from the Tala, yeah, TLA Tala VOR, which is off somewhere down here to the south. So if you were flying it without GPS, you'd have to have your VOR tuned into that, and you'd just be flying, what, 30, 45 degree intercepts or something, so I guess it kind of makes sense. Cool, right. What else do we need to do? These on, lights look okay. Bleeds are on, cabin. Let's see, let's put this back. Can I tell anything about the cabin pressurization? Should that not be changing? It's in the green. Cabin altitude. I guess that's real altitude. I don't know. I assume that's okay. Need to look that up. Okay. Let's climb a little bit faster. 1200. Maybe even 14. We seem to be climbing quite well. Now where are we now? Where are we doing now? We're going. Oh yeah, it's nice having this chart available here just for reference, actually. So we're now basically heading for Grice, and that'll be the end of the SID. And then I think we route across country after that. So Grice, yeah. Well, we go to Findo, which I think is still on the airway, and then we cut across country. Okay, fine. And as we go into flight level now, I'm gonna set the QNH 1013, and we'll do the same over here. I'm just kind of matching them up by eye rather than bothering leaning over. Oops. Great. Okay, I think that's, so far, fingers crossed, that's gone quite well. Now then, let's maybe start thinking about what happens at Inverness. So we can close this one. We can close off Edinburgh. Inverness is EGPE, and Simbrief has told us to expect to use runway 23, so that's kind of approaching Inverness from the northeast basically. Interesting, no weather available. What does X-Plane say at the moment for winds? Wind 240, yeah, okay, let's assume the winds from the southwest, runway 23 makes sense. The arrivals at Inverness are a bit kind of interesting. Let's have a look. because there aren't any arrivals, that's why they're interesting. No, runway 23, initial approach, I guess kind of, I'm not quite sure here actually, because, okay. See, this is kind of if you're approaching from the east, we're going to be approaching from the south. What's the final heading that we're going to be on? Final heading we're on looks like it's going to be about 10 degrees, so we're going to be coming in like this. So let's not look at that approach. Two, three, final approach. So we could fly straight to the VOR and then proceed out. Are we cat A and B? I guess we are. 43 degrees. If we're arriving at 10 degrees, so this is one way we could do it. I'm going to say we're within 30 degrees just, and they would let us fly to the VOR without doing the hold, then go out bound on this procedure and back in on the ILS. But another way that I think, yeah, let's just do that. Let's keep this simple. So we'll fly to the VOR. Now we could put that in the GPS. Let's put that in the GPS. Procedures. Select approach. Now there aren't. No, select arrivals pointless because there aren't any. So where we'll go. Select approach. We want the ILS 23 and INS is the. Let's just look at. Are we okay up here? What's going on? Let's do our aviate bit before we do any more navigating. Not quite sure why we've got the WIC VOR tuned in. That's not really going to help us too much. So while we're at it, let's tune in Inverness. So that at least we've got a distance readout. 78, you see, we haven't got far to go, and we're levelling off now, and it's a lovely sunny evening, and my frame rates have tanked. Yeah, this is the lowest frame rate I've had on Vulcan. Now it's 22 there, looking out the side window. Yeah, something it doesn't like looking at that side window. I don't think it's anything to do with this mod. This mod seems very frame rate friendly. Speed wise, oh my goodness me, we've let, yeah, see, not checking the instruments, we've let our torque bleed right off, because as we increase in altitude we get less, the air gets thinner, so you need to put more fuel in. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, you need to advance the throttle as your torque and ITT drops off as you climb. The other thing we'll do is we can now, we should have been back at 20 for the cruise climb anyway on the prop RPM. We can now bring it back to 19 and slowly increase the torque closer to the red line, and that should let us cruise. Actually, our fuel flow is pretty good. Apparently the winglets, these give you they say 2%, I think they said in the notes, efficiency improvement in fuel. I'm not sure if it gives you any more speed. You think it would as well, but it actually, well, I guess for the same cruise speed you burn less fuel. Where are we going now? Let's have a look at a second. Grice to Findo. Okay, so this is basically a turn to the northeast towards Perth, and Findo I think is doesn't seem to be. Ah no, we're at Findo. Okay, Findo to Laga. We're now going across the Highlands. Let's have a quick look on the map, show you where we are. In fact, let's not use that map. Let's use too many things on screen now. You can go out of the way for a second. Let's just bring up the map here. Show you where we are. And there's the city of Perth. That's the A9 north if you're driving to Inverness, winding its way through the Highlands. We're effectively doing the same thing. We're going to cut across here to a waypoint called Lagav, which is somewhere around here, and then we're on airway N560 straight up to Inverness. Anyway, back to the charts. What were we doing? Oh yeah, so INS, we've tuned the VOR in. We have to pick one of the transition points here, 1 or 2. And what I normally do here is go on little nav map. Let me just bring that up, because I can never remember which one. One's for Cat A and B, and the other's for Cat C. I can never remember which way round it is. So what one way of finding out, and you may know other ways, but this is the only one I know, is if you go to the airport on little nav map and go show all procedures for Inverness, you'll get the ILS 23 approach, and it'll show you the transitions. And if you click on one of the transitions, you'll see it basically draws the same the same vectors that you see on the chart. And it's clear here that INS2 is the one that's closer in, so that's the one we want, the Cat A and B. So we will pick INS2 initial approach fix, and we will just load the procedure. Does that look correct? This is the hold, this is the outbound. Yeah, that looks fine. So we'll just load the procedure for now. Great. I think that's us done GPS wise. We can maybe sit back for a second and enjoy the flight. Now let's just have a look at what's going on. We've got oil temperatures are in the green. Oil pressure it's a very narrow band. Oil pressure, I guess oil PSI is either working or not working. If the oil pump works, maybe when it's cold, you know, it could be a bit down here a bit, but it's expected to be in a very narrow band. Fuel flow is pretty good. Prop RPM's 1900. Torque, we could put it up a bit if we want. We're not quite at 200, although our ground speed, it's another thing. You notice here we've got the wind speed on this display here. That was one of the options down here. Yeah, with what you want to show. You could have ground speed or wind, but you get ground speed over here anyway, so I'd rather have the wind. You can also get this thing to show weather radar. I'm not sure whether that's in the standard plane or just in the mod. I've not played with that yet, but that might be something to look into as well. And there we go, we have the Highlands around us now. Yeah, I am definitely getting low frame rates. One of the other things the mod's done is darken the side blinds, which I guess when the sun's out the window like this is quite good, but I did find on a test flight earlier that just looking out the window it makes it really dark. And there doesn't seem to be a way, unless anyone knows any better, there's no click spots here to actually get rid of these things, so you're kind of stuck with them. Okay, oh, I suppose we just get a heads up on when we're going to need to descend. Now, if we look at this procedure, it starts at the VOR at 4,000 feet, and in fact, you've got to be slightly careful because the MSA Inverness there is actually, I'm not sure what distance that is. We really need to be 5,000 feet and above. So we can't really descend below 5,000 until we get within the X miles of the VOR. It doesn't actually say, which isn't very helpful. Do not just to passing D4. Ah, okay. Ah. Aircraft may descend to 3,500 feet after passing D10 inbound VOR. Okay, fine. So we know for now we can descend to 5,000. So why don't we? Is there any point doing that? No, there's no point doing that. We might as well descend the whole way, but just not start too soon. Let's put 4,000 as the next altitude that we're going to want. And I'll tell you what, to make our lives easier this time, let's actually use the VNAV procedure on here. And if I can never really remember which things you click on this to move and to turn. So the target altitude is going to be 4,000 feet. And because we want to get our speed and everything under control, let's do that. How many miles? Nah, we got plenty of time because we descend after that anyway. So we'll say 0 miles. If you did want it like 2 or 3 miles before a beacon, so you could get your speed under control, you'd obviously put that up from 0. Go here, and we say not like in INS think that's right. What's the next one after that? Yeah, INS is the thing, so that'll be fine. Do we need to fill anything else out? I don't think so. I think that's it. Or do we need to put this profile in? What if we do? Maybe we should put in 1,000. Let's put in 1,000 feet per minute. Okay, so you do need to put something in. Wow, we're actually not far off beginning descent at that rate. I didn't realise we were that close. Okay. Well, let's leave you on. It's telling us that if we wanted to descend now, we would descend at 670 feet per minute. We're happy to descend at 1,000 feet per minute, so we don't need to start our descent yet. While that's in that mode, we could try and get this one to go into that view there, so we've got a graphical view again. Okay. We should see if we can get any. Is there any ATIS at Inverness? No, we don't want you anymore. And there's no ATIS, so we'll just have to go with the kind of weather in here, I guess. 1016. So, oh, and the transition altitude is. Does it tell us on here? It probably says advised by ATC. No, 3,000 feet. Okay, so we don't even need to set the final QNH until we get. That's not the one we want anyway. This is the one we want until we get past the beacon. Now Ligav is the next point that we're coming to. Oh, begin descent in 3 minutes. I'll just show you. I'll just bring up SimBrief again briefly, so you can see that Ligav we're coming to here, and yeah, actually that's our that's pretty much going to be probably our top of descent. I suppose we should. So I don't normally use this thing. Does that make sense? How far are we from Inverness? Ah, okay, here we are. So we're 46 miles away. We've got 10,000 feet to lose. So that would normally be 10,000 times 3, 30 miles at 5 times your ground speed rate of descent. And our ground speed was at 220, so 5 2s 10, 1,100. I guess this is kind of right then, roughly. Well, we'll go with this anyway and see what happens. Even though my frame rate is down pretty low, so I've never had it this low before. Even sitting in the runway at Heathrow, it's about the same actually. So I'm not quite sure whether it's the weather, whether it's anyway. Now, yeah, another thing we should do is let's get the ILS tuned in, because once we've gone outbound from the beacon, then we turn back in, we're going to be tuned to the ILS, so we want that on 108.5. So that's just have that ready, basically. Let's keep our head and bug aligned. Should I say it? Oh, begin descent in 1 minute. Let's have a quick look at the plugin. Plugin information? Oh, no, not plugin information. None of these plugins are actually costing any frames, so it's fair enough. One minute to top of descent. Yeah, that's probably not bad, not far off. Like I say, we got to use normally my calculation would be that we'd multiply the 10,000 that we've got to lose by 3 to give us 30 miles, but that would be more like a 12 to 1500 descent rate, because I've said we only want to descend 1,000 feet per minute. Let's assume we've got people that don't like. Anyway, let's get down, because I'm going to go V speed and alt cell, and I'm going to go minus, minus, minus. Watch the green number there on the artificial horizon. So because we're a little bit, I was a little bit slow there, I'm going to go 1200 until this vertical speed required figure here comes back to 1,000. Now we will speed up here, so let's also bring back the throttle. I mean, we can keep it, as long as we keep it below 220 then we're okay, but let's not let it go much above 200. Because also our vertical speed required will go up if we speed up as well. Yeah, I'm happy with that for now. Let's have a look on the map. So here we are, heading towards Inverness. We'll then make a right turn and come back in on the ILS 24. Cool. I've never flown a plane. Well, I had a quick play with the Zebo once, just to go wow at all of the cockpit and everything. I've never had anything else with having to have integration. It is actually quite nice, although you do have to move your head down, I suppose, compared to doing what I normally do and just bring it up on here. It's not very realistic, because in the real plane you wouldn't be able to have that there in your face. You would actually be looking either down to the side or down there. So I guess that is more realistic. How's our speed doing? We're okay. I'll just bring back torque a little bit more. How are we doing for fuel? I forget where the fuel gauges are now, and they're going to be somewhere really obvious. Oh, they're over here, aren't they? Yeah, got loads. So I think, yeah, I'm quite impressed with that fuel flow rate with these winglets. Maybe they do make a big difference. This is a really nice plane now. Actually, let's have a look outside while we're descending. Same sort of slow frame rate here as well, so it must be to do with the sunlight and the clouds. Wow, that looks really nice. Okay, really pleased with this so far. I don't think I'll be going back to the... I mean, I generally like to keep flight sim sort of as close to vanilla as possible. I just think there's less chance... Well, it's cheaper, unless you're using completely free stuff. There's less chance of something crashing. If you need to move to a new version or reset it all up, there's a lot less to do. But I really like this mod, and I suppose the only issue is if Laminar bring out a new version of the C90, like they upgrade it and this is behind and is no longer compatible, then it might break. But it doesn't matter in that case too much, because it's a set, because you've made a copy, because you haven't modified the Laminar one that comes with X-Plane. You've made a copy of it, and when you load up, you pick it. It's actually, you know, you've named it C90 with winglets, so that's what you pick to fly. If that breaks, you just go back to the normal C90, so you haven't lost out. Yeah, so really pleased with this. Superb. Thanks to the chap who developed this. On the forum, his name is Uncertified Pilot. Oh yeah. But I say I'll leave a link in the description, and I suggest if you like flying the King Airs and the C90, this is really nice. I mean, I'm not going to bother with my Coronado B200 anymore. I'm just going to fly this. It's great. Anyway, enough of that. We're now descending too fast, so let's come back up a bit. Actually, it doesn't matter if we descend slightly too fast, so let's leave it at 1,000. as long as we're within 10, we've got to be, what was it? Within 10 miles of Inverness VOR, we can be, it said that somewhere. It said that on the other one, didn't it? It said, yeah, because I was saying 5,000 doesn't tell you the distance. Then it said within 10 miles, you could be. Oh, it was in a little box here, wasn't it? Nope, lost it. Maybe it was on the other one. Here we go. 3,500. So as long as we don't go below 3,500 until we get within 10 miles, then we're okay. So we just need to keep an eye on that. I suppose really we should set 5,000, get to 5,000, then see if we are within 10 miles. But I think we're okay here. We're going to be plenty within at the rate we're descending at. And we are again still going quite fast, so I'm just going to bring the torque back a bit more. So our target speed, vertical speed, is now only 800 feet per minute, so we could actually bring that back. And it means then we've got even less chance of being within 10 miles and being below 5,000 feet. I don't know, I hope this thing works. I normally just do the multiply by 3 thing, and then keep an eye, you know, when you get to certain distances, check it 30 miles, check at 20 and see if you're kind of on profile in your head. But this, in theory, makes it easier if it works. And the next, I'm not sure what our next waypoint is. Once we level off, we'll get rid of this thing and go back to the map and waypoint display. We could get rid of the map here and just go. Oh, we're actually heading to the NDB, to the VOR, 10 miles. Yeah, that ties in. Yeah, we're fine now, so we can descend now. And then when we get to the we need to activate. I think we probably should activate the approach, to be honest with you. So let's go procedure, activate approach. No, arrival approach. Here we go. I'm happy that we're on profile now, so I don't need the VS thing anymore. Sync our flight plan on here again. We'll have the default INS, and then hopefully we'll just go outbound. I've had problems before with FMSs when they get to the end of the outbound, like then on the turn back in, and whether they automatically transition to the ILS or not. I will see how that works. If not, we'll need to be ready to switch this from CDI to VLOC and jump over here. And we're coming out of the clouds. Oh, which is a good point. Our decision. It's our decision height. And seeing the frame rate shot back up. This is the opposite of what normally happens. Is that normally in cloud it's worse. Interesting. Maybe it's a Vulcan thing that I've not seen yet with the sun and clouds. And in fact, that is Inverness Airport there in front of us. There's the runway. So we're about to fly beacon outbound out here, turn back in and come in, hopefully. Let's just get this range in a bit so we can see what's going on. Here we go. So yeah, I often have issues with it knowing whether it's going to switch from GPS to CDI, and if so, is it going to be on the right frequency, etc. I think we'll see what happens, and then we'll try and correct it. Now watch out, because we're coming up to 4,000 feet, we're going to level off. I do think I'd just let the speed bleed back maybe to about 180 on this outbound leg. It doesn't take long from Edinburgh to Inverness in an aircraft. By car, you've got a whole long journey up the A9 through the Highlands. It'd be quite nice to have your own King Air for stuff like this. Do you even get smarter pens in this one? I think those do look like smarter pens. I think because in the other one you just get like a red pencil thing. These look like much more executive pens. Oh yeah, I'm sold. You can't see much, can you? It's quite murky. Even for X-Plane, it's quite hard to see anything. I'm quite glad we're on instruments. Now then, hang on, we need to be descending. We need to be at 2,000 feet. Okay, so let's go 2,000. Let's go Alt Cell VS again, and our speed's probably already coming off, except it isn't. Let's just go for a kind of fairly gentle. We've got how many miles? We've got. Oh, we go way out to D9, so we got 9 miles, 200 feet a minute. So we lose 2,700 feet even at like a casual descent rate like this. If it, if you think of a normal glide slope, it's like 300 feet per mile. So we got 9 miles. We can do 2,700 feet. Yeah, we're fine. Even at this sort of descent rate, 600 feet per minute. I'll just get the power back a bit more. I like to get it down to about 180 now. I can't remember all the different speeds on the King Air for gear and flaps. I used to know them. I don't think there's any handy. Is there a handy reference thing anywhere? If there is, it's not very readable. So I'm just going to have to go with guesswork. I think 180 is probably, anything below 180 is probably okay for gear. King Air gear speed doesn't bring up anything useful. Maximum gear speed. How are we doing for distance? And we're coming up for a turn soon. No, let's give up looking for that. We're just gonna have to wing it. I'll maybe get it down to 160 just to be on the safe side. So we're within 1,000 feet now of our of the altitude that we want to be at here at the end of the outbound leg. We're going to be making a turn soon. As I say, I'm not quite sure it's gonna. Let's get the speed down a bit to help with the turn. Still descending, so we actually should be lower. So I'm just going to give us to 1,000 feet per minute. So actually we didn't make it to 2,000 feet because I was rambling too much. When we need to be at, to be on profile to capture the ILS, we need to be at 2,000 feet coming back in. Oh, we only need to be at 2,000 actually by D6.1, so we're fine. We've got plenty of time. We don't even need to descend so rapidly. And we're in cloud now. Now, is it going to switch to ILS automatically? If I hit approach mode, will that help? I don't know. We should see. Still in GPS at the moment. There's a runway over there, so I kind of hope it is going to do something sensible. I'm tempted. This is where I normally panic and switch myself. In fact, I'll tell you what. Oh, I don't know. Should I leave it? In the interest of science, I'm going to leave it. Just going to watch our speed. We don't want to go any slower than that. We're certainly slow enough for gear now. I'll give it another one more chance to see if it switches from GPS to ILS. Oh, I don't know what it's doing. I don't think it's doing anything sensible. I'm gonna switch CDI myself. I'm gonna put us on the ILS. What was the ILS course? The ILS course is 234. I'm hoping we get glide slope. We're already descending. Right, gear down. Okay, I think we've captured. I think we've got. So here we've got lock and glide slope. I'm gonna pull the power right back. Need to get slowed down a bit now. Let's get it down to the white band, and then we'll get one notch of flaps in. Props can come forward. We can turn the landing lights on. We can turn auto feather off. Sorry, auto feather comes on, prop sync goes off. Just double check we got auto feather. Yeah, we do. Okay. Now we need to concentrate on getting a final speed of about 90. I'm going to go final flaps. There's the lights of Inverness ahead up there in the distance. I quite like this sort of time moving in the simulator. The lighting seems to work really well. Let's just watch that torque. We don't want to go below 90. We're not far off there. We're obviously not got a problem with minimums. Not that I've checked. And also I haven't set the mist. I don't know what it is, so it's too late now. Should have done that. We'll climb straight ahead and then have a look at the chart. Okay, autopilot off. Everything brightens up when you turn off the autopilot. Seems to be moving around a bit. I'm not sure if we got some kind of gusty wind. A bit high now, but we're okay. It's a long enough runway. There we are, jumping up and down a bit here.
50, 40, 30.
Going to be a bit long.
10.
I'm going to brake here and just take us off on the right. We're off the runway now, so taxi lights can come on, landing lights can come off, strobe can come off. We can turn our transponder off. Well, I say off the runway, we're actually on a runway, but it's not an active one. Whoops. Yeah, I'm not sure my throttle mapping there is working too well for the, certainly not for the beta range. It did for the reverse. So I'm just going to park up on the left here. So another thing I've noticed with the let's just put the parking brake on. With the new gateway airports that came out in 1150, the kind of Victorian brick building that used to be at Inverness, it's either that one or this one, has now been replaced by a slightly more, still not sure there's one like that, but it's slightly more, and there's like a double-decker bus there without wheels, but it's slightly more realistic than the brick building. Okay, I'll tell you what, we'll shut it down, then we'll have a quick look at the approach and the landing. Now, shutting things down, what order do we shut things down? I guess we turn off the EFIS stuff, rudder boost, and turn that off. We turn off the avionics. I guess we turn the transfer pumps off. Oops, not to override. I don't think you turn these pumps off until the engines are shutting down. Let's turn off auto feather. We can turn off the pitot heaters. I think also in this mod things that the electrical loading is more accurate. So if you turn too many heater things and stuff like that on, then you can get actually you can overload the generators of the bus, or I'm not sure what gets overloaded first. Lights can come off, taxi light can come off, nav, record. We'll leave the beacon on until we stop. I think that's most things turned off. I won't turn the gens off until we stop. I'm not sure if that's the correct procedure or not, but I think we can now stop the engine. So I'm going to shut off the fuel. As the engines are shutting down, I'm going to feather the prop and turn off the fuel pumps. So fuel comes off. These pumps can come off, and I'm going to feather the prop just to help it shut down quicker. And I think we can probably now turn off, let's turn the gens off anyway, not sure that really matters too much. Inverter can come off, and the battery can come off, and that's it. And I guess now in theory we can come in here and open the door. And welcome to Inverness. Let's just have a look at our approach, see what it was like. Let's do that from the front because that makes it easier to see. I'll take it in a little bit. I'll have a look from outside. Again, yeah, I mean, the extra sort of material texturing or whatever has been done here makes this thing look really nice with its winglets and nice silver paint. I guess the door's open there because I opened it on the ground, not because I wonder if we can shut it. Oh yeah, excellent. I can change time during a replay. I'm not sure you're allowed to do that. Not quite sure why we started bobbing up and down when I turned the autopilot off though. I don't think the wind is particularly... Wind 0.60 Ooh, the wind's changed round. Does that mean we actually had a tailwind then? That could explain why we landed a bit long. There you go, get an excuse in already. Or it's just that I wasn't watching the aiming point properly. Yeah, definitely too long. We would have made that turn off more easily if we'd landed at the right point. Yeah, bit of a bumpy one at the end, but we're down. And definitely just on the limit of being able to make that without backtracking. Okay, right, well, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. As I say, I really just wanted it. It's the first time I've actually flown this C90 mod. Apart from a really quick test flight, and I have to say I'm very impressed with it, and I highly recommend it to anyone who likes flying the King Airs or the C90 that comes with X-Plane. Okay, that's it for me for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.